All weekend long, Hollywood and Wall Street was talking about the almost $28 per share offer tendered by Netflix for the purchase of Warner Brothers, at least a portion of Warner Brothers. And we warned everybody, do not count the Ellisons out just yet. And sure enough, this happened.
Let's do this. Leroy Jenkins!
Well, folks, welcome back. Another great day here at Valiant Renegade. It's good to see all of you out there once again. And if you are like one of the many watching this video, not yet subscribed to this channel, please take a moment and turn that little red subscribe button to gray. Hit that like button, hit that notification bell, share this sucker out on the social medias, and of course, please do leave a comment before you head out the door today. Make sure to join us every Sunday and Wednesday afternoon at 6 p.m. Eastern right here for the live show. Well, here it is. You knew it wasn't going to last very long in the battle between Netflix and Paramount for the future of Warner Brothers Discovery, led by David Zaslav. David Ellison's Paramount, makes a $108 billion all-cash offer for Warner Brothers Discovery, escalating the buyout fight with Netflix. P-Sky announced on Monday a bid to acquire WBD in an all-cash deal worth $30 per share. That's over $2 more per share than what Netflix is offering only for the studios, the IPs, and HBO Max, with a total value of $108.4 billion as the company moves to top Netflix's deal struck last week to acquire the storied studio. Paramount's bid on Monday would see the company acquire all of Warner Brothers' assets. On Friday, Netflix agreed to acquire Warner Brothers' TV, film, studios, and streaming division for $72 billion in equity value, roughly $27.75 per share in a cash and stock deal, worth a total of about $82.7 billion. That would see Warner Brothers shareholders receive $23.35 in cash, along with $4.50 in Netflix common stock. Now, a reminder that just very recently, Netflix underwent a 10-for-1 split. Previously, Netflix had reached a peak of around $1,200 a share. Following that 10-for-1 split, well, they had 10 times as many shares for 1/10 the price of around $120 per share. The tentative deal between Warner Brothers and Netflix, agreed to by both of the boards of both companies, has yet to receive approval under the federal government's antitrust review process, where success is far from guaranteed. A combined Netflix WBD would control roughly a third of U.S. streaming activity, according to data from Just Watch, a platform that measures streaming engagement across the U.S. services, setting up ripe conditions for a drawn-out and fiercely critical deal review from the Justice Department. Now, just like in the video that we explained on Sunday, if you look at what Netflix has just in terms of stated subscribers around the globe, and then you add to that Warner Brothers, which is arguably the number 2 if you throw out India's Hotstar system, which of course does not operate here in the United States, and if you put an asterisk next to Amazon Prime boasting 200 million subscribers, because again, let's face it, a significant portion of those subscribers barely, if at all, really use the video streaming service, much of any. Most people are there for Amazon Prime to get the 2-day shipping. President Donald Trump has already flagged potential antitrust questions about the deal, adding fuel to concerns about regulatory opposition. Well, that's going to go through a process, and we'll see what happens, Trump said at an event on Sunday. But it's a big market share. It could be a problem. Taking advantage of what it sees as a still open window of opportunity, Paramount's Monday morning bid is the latest in a line of attempts by David Ellison's company to acquire the storied Hollywood entity. By mid-October of 25, Paramount had made 3 unsuccessful and unsolicited proposals for Warner Brothers, culminating in a $58 billion offer at $20 per share. Of course, all of these failed, and Netflix stepped in with a much bigger offer for a portion of the company. And as we stated before, a lot of this has to do with the fact that I think David Zaslav, the current CEO of Warner Brothers Discovery, had always wanted to have some type of out to where he would still be able to sell the portion of Warner Brothers Discovery that came from AT&T in that spinoff 3.5 years ago now, and still have some control over his beloved Discovery properties, at least on the linear side of things. And it looks like that's what David Zaslav is most favoring right now, because it's going to be very hard to argue against what seems to be a much superior offer from Paramount with all cash for the shareholders. In a statement to the public, but primarily to P-Sky shareholders, David Ellison released this on Sunday and Monday, Paramount launching an all-cash tender offer to acquire Warner Brothers. And this is going into the $30 a share side of things, but I want you to take a look here at the argument that Paramount has laid out as to why this is a better deal for everybody involved: Hollywood, regulatory bodies, and of course the shareholders themselves. The Paramount offer acquires 100% of Warner Brothers Discovery, not a separated entity of linear and streaming with IPs and studios on the other side, whereas Netflix only wants the streaming and studios business. $30 per share in cash as opposed to $23 a share in cash from Netflix. You've got a total offer value of $30 per share versus $28 per share from Netflix with the stock portion that plays in. The value certainty, all cash proposal for an entire company versus a significant uncertainty of linear networks' stub equity value, leaving shareholders of Warner Brothers Discovery exposed to a highly levered and structurally declining asset. And that, I think, is one of the most compelling arguments as to why Paramount is a better suitor as opposed to Netflix. What Netflix effectively wants to do is walk away with the most valuable portion of Warner Brothers and leave the debt-laden, collapsing bad side, the stub as it's referred to here, behind. And that's something that Warner Brothers shareholders are going to have to make strong considerations on. Do they want to retain the risk of all of the massive leverage, the debt load that would come with a linear-only company spun off from an otherwise successful spate of film studios, streaming services, and everything else under the sun? Paramount also argues they have a much stronger path to regulatory approval, whereas Netflix is going to be much more of a challenge. And Paramount's proposal expects to receive regulatory approvals for its proposal likely within 12 months, whereas Netflix is likely to face a significantly longer road to walk down when it comes to the regulatory process. As a matter of fact, with the way Netflix only wants to walk away with the profitable side of Warner Brothers, that means they're going to have to let the spinoff conclude before Netflix even comes in to make its final purchase. That alone is at least 12 months away. So the Netflix deal obviously could take a good bit longer. Now, of course, there are other things to consider, and I had a conversation just last night with our friends over at Force of Light Entertainment, who was having this conversation on their show, and I joined them for a bit to answer some of their questions. Because if you're wondering what the Hollywood impact is going to be, especially with theatrical exhibition and Netflix's very questionable at best history when it comes to that, well...
So, thinking long term, if Netflix was allowed to go through with this purchase, and they buy Warner Brothers, they get HBO Max, so they collide that. And then once that little contract runs up and they start maybe just putting out the Warner Brothers movies, say when Superman 2 comes out in a few years, they're like, well, we're going to put it in theaters for 4 weeks. And then we're just going to put it on Netflix and you come see it on Netflix. I wonder, is there not possibly, it's more down the road. So I don't know if like the government or whoever's in charge of this looks at that. But I see that almost then creating a monopoly in the sense of if Netflix kills theaters, they have killed permanently Paramount, Disney, any other filmmaker's ability to make money because they killed the theater. And is that possibly a problem that could be looked at in this purchase now?
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's going to be one of the biggest sticking points. That's going to be one of the most prominent arguments against this deal. And you're going to hear this from Republicans, Democrats, from Wall Street people, from Hollywood people. You're going to hear this from guys like Adam Aron, the CEO of AMC Theaters. You're going to hear that argument from Even guys like Mike Lee out of Utah. I mean, hardcore conservatives. You're going to hear this from a broad spectrum of politicians and industry professionals alike. The issue with Netflix is they have said many times over the last 10 years, hey, we're never going to do this. And then they did it, right? And I get it. You have to evolve as times change. And your job, especially as a publicly traded company, is to make the most money you can for your shareholders. Netflix has been doing their job. Netflix invented an entire industry that before they were around, frankly, didn't exist. The issue is, and the argument that I believe is going to be made, is that Netflix is now engaging and stepping into arenas of well-established traditional Americana that I talked about on the video Sunday, that is going to do potentially irreparable financial economic damage to entire industries. And even though Netflix and Ted Sarandos has, come out in the last 24 to 48 hours and said, no, we're going to honor Warner Brothers, and we're still going to keep theatrical, we're going to add this to it, we're going to keep this. The thing is that I believe that Netflix will make that claim, and I believe that Netflix will actually do it, but for a time. Yes. It's not going to be, they might drag it out 3 or 4 years. And certainly since you specifically mentioned, for example, Superman 2, Michelle. Sure, because anything that's in the pipeline right now at Warner Brothers in terms of movies that are being developed or were greenlit for theatrical release, Netflix would, under contract and by law, have to continue to honor those. Because anytime a company like Netflix buys somebody like Warner Brothers, any contract that Warner Brothers signed and agreed to would have to be honored by any of its successors or assigns. In this case, it'd be Netflix. So Netflix would still have to do that. Now, if there are certain stipulations in the contract that say this movie will run for X or Y or whatever, then they still have to do it. But after that point, Netflix could pull back. So anything that basically hasn't been greenlit, let's say Superman 3, for example, right? There's nothing that's necessarily been committed in that regard. But if Netflix were to have control over that committal, they could say that, well, we'll run it in theaters limited for 2 weeks, and then that's it.
Yeah.
They could change their minds with anything that hasn't already been signed with Warner Brothers. But the big news is what Paramount, and I told people not to sleep on David Ellison today, and that's what the video is going to talk about tomorrow, is that he's making very, very strong comments out there that, hey, we felt that this review process by Warner Brothers was unfair and biased. And we're going to make a ridiculous offer, which could potentially get even more ridiculous. Basically putting David Zaslav and Warner Brothers in a position to where if they don't look at this and they don't necessarily recommend it to stockholders, then, they could potentially face some legal actionable problems down the road. Because it's an all-cash offer. Yes. And it's for everything. It's not just for IPs and film and television studios and HBO Max. It's for everything, including linear. So this is going to get nasty, and it's going to get a lot of fun.
VR's here for it.
Yeah.
And what do you make of this? Donald Trump says he will be involved in the decision on whether Netflix should buy Warner Brothers.
Yeah.
Netflix has a very big market share, and when they have WB, that share goes up a lot. I don't know that's going to be for some economists to tell. I'll be involved in that decision too.
Well, of course, he will by extension because, the president of the United States is the one who gets to put the Federal Trade Commission in place under his administration, just like any other cabinet position, for example. So, it is going to be something that he will be involved in either directly or through his proxies that he's appointed to take care of these kind of things. And there was even a comment made today by David Ellison that, and I've been asking this question now for months. If Paramount and Warner Brothers, for example, were to combine, I didn't have any qualms about David Ellison abandoning theatrical exhibition, and I still don't. My question is that, are we still going to have 12 movies from Warner Brothers and 12 movies from Paramount, or are we going to have 12 movies combined? Well, Ellison made it clear that his goal.
He made that very clear. Let me pull that up.
Yeah, he made it clear that, not only are we still going to keep the existing slates as planned, but we're going to up them. Like, we're going to go from a combined total of 25 films of Warner Brothers and Paramount per year to 30.
Yep, 30.
Yeah, there it is. So, I mean, this is David Ellison is saying, and I believe he means every word he says. I have no reason to doubt it. He's saying all the right things. And this is what is going to get, ironically, hilariously, all the Hollywood people behind him. Because what Hollywood has to wake up to is the fact that whether they like it or not, this is going to happen. This is a come to Jesus moment. This is freaking happening. You're not turning this off. Warner Brothers is not going to not get bought or consumed by somebody else. This is going to happen. The question is, who do you want it to be?
Yeah.
If you want it to be Netflix, keep throwing a hissy fit. If you want it to be Paramount and keep giving Hollywood the paychecks that they are looking for with the Writers Guild, the Actors Guild, so on and so forth, then you better start lining up behind the Trump people, the Ellisons, which I know you hate, but it's either them or you're screwed. So make your choice now and get it done. Yep.
It's kind of peak irony that Donald Trump might be the one who weighs in on saving Hollywood, basically.
It's going to be funny as hell if that's the way it goes down, and it looks like that's exactly how it's shaping up. Like I said, I still have a lot of doubts about how this Netflix thing is going to go down.
But where do you stand as of the information you have of this day? If you're a betting man, where are you leaning?
In terms of who's going to get Warner?
Yes.
It's really hard to say. I mean, it really, really is. It really depends.
50-50?
It's starting to swing more towards Paramount for sure. And if they up the game even further, and there's a figure out there that is going to make it almost untenable, I would go so far as to say absolutely untenable, for Warner Brothers, the board, including David Zaslav, to ignore and not recommend to stockholders. If they're at $30 a share right now, and Ellison can do this the hard way if he wants, and we can go back in the old school days and have Ellison publish a tender offer in the Wall Street Journal for $30 a share. That's what he's offering right now, kindly. He hasn't pulled the nuclear option yet of just going out and we're going to throw this tender offer. We're going to go direct to the shareholders. It's not officially there yet, I don't believe. And he can do that. And then David Ellison could theoretically, in this case, he's already got a pile of money here ready to go. He's got commitments. He's got the pile of money. And if he manages to pick up 50% plus one of the shares, that's it. It's over. Netflix can go pound sand.
If we want good entertainment and good movies, I just feel it's been proven that we need that. Most studios besides Netflix is the only one that fits this bill. Everyone else needs that theatrical money, that theater money. So maybe theaters, either for the price, need to make it just an amazing experience, lower the price, have more discounted prices, maybe things like that. But I get what you're saying. It's definitely easy to sit at your house and watch something. And definitely, I mean, the price of theater tickets is absolutely an issue for families, I would say, and things like that. But as far as the actual Hollywood itself, it just can't afford to lose the box office, is my take. Is that kind of where you are with that, VR?
They can't. They found that out post-COVID. And here's the funny part of this is that the argument that's going to be made before the Federal Trade Commission, I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop on this one. Somebody's going to have to pull this rabbit out of the hat, and it's a real rabbit. And that is that, ladies and gentlemen of Congress and the Federal Trade Commission, let us not forget that the primary reason that the theaters are still in recovery and the theaters are still struggling,
Yes.
largely the way they are, is because you people right there at
Yes.
Congress are the ones that murdered this industry for 18 months, shutting this country down. We're trying to claw out of it. And now if you approve this deal with Netflix, what you're basically saying is, yeah, sorry, our bad, but piss off. You know,
Yeah.
to me, no. That should be one of the top arguments made. We're trying to actually recover an industry from what the federal government did, the damage the federal government did. And of course, it wasn't the only one. But in the case of this argument, that's what we're talking about. If you want to see the entire uncut conversation that I had with Michelle and Natalie over at Force of Light on their Monday, December 8th show, go over to their channel on YouTube at Force of Light Entertainment and check out the replay. But let me know your thoughts in the comments below. You guys tell me, do you think Paramount or Netflix is going to win the day? Or do you think there is some yet unknown third party that might show up and surprise everybody? I've been cautioning people about Comcast, as interesting and compelling as I think a Comcast partnership with Warner Brothers would be. I just don't think Comcast, frankly, is in the financial position to be competitive at this level, now pushing $30 a share for Warner Brothers. I think it's right out for Comcast. But you guys tell me. We'll see you on the next one. Make sure you're subscribed to Valiant Renegade and join us every Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern for the live show.